But this year you go into it, you say, how does, the Super Bowl winner has, they're coming back the next year better. Like, that's a big deal, especially offensively.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
All right, man. Hey, man, welcome back. The Process, where the process is always greater than what it produces. Man, this is your boy, Shawn Barber, Kansas City-owned former linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs. And listen, even before I get to who the title sponsor is and any of the people that are sponsoring the show, man, y'all know y'all see him on the screen, my man, my homie, my brother from another mother, one of Kansas City's greatest linebackers to ever touch the field. That's right, Arrowhead Field, GEHA Field, and now when we play, but now it's GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. But the man, the one and only, my man Derrick Johnson will be joining the show, and we'll have time to hear his insight and his perspective on a lot of different things that are going on with the NFL season. But really quick, man, let's take time to, how many ways can I thank the McGinnis Group? I'm working for the McGinnis Group. We specialize in employee benefits, health insurance for companies, retirement, financial services, life insurance, and also long-term health care. We would love to have opportunity to review your company's current plans and learn more about your game plan for the game of life. And together, everyone achieves more. TEAM, we are a team over at the McGinnis Group. So call Scott Soxie, Matt McGinnis, Sonny Fouts, and as somebody from the MGI team hear about your health benefits needs. So without further ado, man, we're going to get right into this, man. DJ, how has it been off season? Your Chiefs win another Super Bowl back-to-back and get ready for this three-peat.
Man, it's a good time to be a Chief, man. Thanks for having me on. Man, I'm loving it. I'm like kid in the candy store, man. It's obviously, we're not playing anymore, but we coach from the couch now, and I tell you what, we some good coaches right now. We're doing well watching the Chiefs, man, and they're just getting better and better. And hats off to Andy Reid. I played 5 years with him, so to see the older gentleman, the wise gentleman, just still running his race at the highest level is pretty cool.
Yeah, and Andy is still Andy. I mean, I go back, I was a linebacker for the Eagles in 02 and 06, and so I had a chance to play under a team being led by Andy Reid, and somebody asked me, actually this past weekend I had a chance to go play Paynes Valley in Branson. Shout out to the Bransons, the tour and the Escape Branson community down there in Branson, Missouri. I had a chance to go up to, Big Cedar, and they had a Chiefs rally on the landing. And some different guys were there from the Chiefs, and we were talking about what does it mean to be coached by Andy Reid? Like, why is he so good? What is the one thing he does? And I said, you know what? At the end of the day, he says it, but not only does he says it, he backs up his word with consistent movement into that, to applying what he's saying. So when he talks about let your personality show, every game we played those 2 seasons, the night before the game, he said, hey guys, I'm gonna treat you to a couple of cheeseburgers. We'll have some snacks, get some ice cream. When you lay your head down, just make sure you're ready to go play ball the next day. And don't forget, let your personality show. Like that's a statement, but the way that he ran training camp and prepared us the week before the game, everything that led up to that moment was that coach that really wanted us to let our personality show. No robots on the field, just going out there and being ultra confident in the game plan and sticking to the game plan and playing, hair on fire, with reckless abandon, going out there like some madmen to go play ball. So, I think we're seeing, like you're saying, it's a consistent Andy Reid, but he's also made a few changes that probably to adjust to the time and some younger players. So what was your memory about Coach Andy Reid being the head man on the teams you were part of?
Yeah. The barbershop, you said this. That's exactly what he says. That's him. He hadn't changed in a good way. And if something's working consistently, and you have a proven coach like Andy Reid, being able to tell players in a way, because everybody can't say let your personality show. You gotta live it. You gotta coach it in that way where they say, okay, I really understand what that means, and for me, let your personality show is freaking go out there and do you, man. Do you. Don't, football's never perfect, right? You go out there and you want to have a really good game and all this stuff, but it's never going to be perfect, but you can still dominate. And letting your personality show is a big part of that. So Andy has been doing the same thing for years. Obviously, I didn't know he used to say that with you, but that's him though. That's him. It's been working for a long time, and he has adapted to this new era. Andy's still Andy. He can draw up some stuff. Us defensive guys, we hate going against an Andy Reid offense because it's like, oh my goodness, you got to have great eyes, right? You got to look over here. He's going to do a lot of exotic disguising things to manipulate the defense and their responsibilities. But Andy's still chomping away, man. It's cool to see a older gentleman, an older guy like him to still be at the top of his game. And of course, you have a guy like, Kelsey or Pat Mahomes to help to help, you gotta, it's one thing about being a great coach. They'll all tell you, we gotta have some guys that can play. You got to, right? So, yeah.
That's right. A great coach is always supported by great players. And I think I remember when I was with the Eagles, we had a players council. So like each room, right? The linebackers, the secondary, the D-line, the tight end, the offensive line, the running backs, the wide receivers. There was always one guy from each room that would come and kind of meet with Andy on his own as a players council. And we took care of business. We made sure that anything that happened off the field, it didn't even have to get back to him. We would take care of the locker room. If there were some guys, maybe griping about their legs being a little bit sore, worn out. And obviously I can't even imagine with the rules they have now as far as practice. They don't ever practice long enough to get So no training camp, tired legs and all that. But we ended up practicing, I think 14 practices in the first 10 days, which is it's unbelievable.
Where was this at?
We were, when I was in Philly, I think we were out.
Okay.
When we was in Philly, man, what was the name of it? We went somewhere up north, and the practices, it was 2 a day. So it was 6 practices in the first 3 days, and then it was 1 practice, and then we came back with a 2 a day. So we calculated it, man. It was like, 14 practice first 10 days. And these guys right now, they can't go more than 4 days in a row without getting a day off, no double days. So I don't even know, if you're in camp for 28, 29 days and you got to take every 5th day off, that means you get like 23, maybe 22 practices over that course of a training camp. So we would get that done in the first freaking 10 days.
I know. I was going to say that. See, I was, I guess, talking to you. I'm a little younger, obviously, but all of your career, you had that hardcore 2 a day time every year, right? You had I had about 4 years or so about the hardcore stuff. I can remember my rookie year going to Rural Falls and Digger Mills camp. Oh my goodness, man! I was like, man, is this the life? Like, golly, it was. There were times we would go out to practice, and I don't know if you remember this. I know you were getting back because you was injured when I first got here, coming off the injury. But during training camp, there was one time, and I remember this verbatimly. I remember this. We were so tired as players, we actually walked out on the field without our shoulder pads on. Like, and of course, I'm a rookie. I'm just following the older guys. We got an older team in 2005, and they were so like beat up, and they was like, "Hey guys, we putting on shells today. Like, put it on. Let's go out." And when you have a player-led team like that, guys like Dick Vermeil, Andy Reid, they know, like, all right, the players are spoken. Yes. It's cool.
Because at the end of the day, this is a long season, and the coach got to realize I'm going to need these guys to, at some point, shut up and put the pads on.
Yep.
And maybe the 4th, 5th day of training camp ain't the time for me to show them, to wield my acts of power and show them who's the coach and who's the player. So maybe as a coach, like you said, from Dick Vermeil, from Andy, from these guys that had some of these longer camps, you ride them hard, and then when the players and the council come together and you see everybody band together, whether it's the way you wanted it or not, the fact that they all come together is the main, right? That's the purpose. You want to see this team grow together, get closer, And sometimes you set them up for failure. You set them up to go through some things you know they can't get through, because at the end of the day, you just don't want them to separate and half the team want this, half the team want that. No. If they come together and tell you, hey, man, like at the end of the day, everybody got tired legs. Nobody wants to get injured out here, so we're going to come out here in our shells. We're going to get some really good work done. And at the end of the day, the process, what you understand is going to happen is we're all growing together as a team. And that's what training camp is all about. It ain't about how many plays we can run, how many different defenses and all that. It's all about the progression from, hey, we enter this training camp as teammates, but we exit this training camp going into week 1 as family. And that's what, remember, that was in the locker room, right?
That's so true. I told my wife the other day, she was asking, like, why do y'all go off? Why do you go away? Why don't you just, stay at the facility and work? I'm like, well, training camp is special time. Like, you got to put some amount of work in, not just on the field, but off the field, being able to have that chemistry. That's a big deal, man. It's one thing to have really good players on the roster, but when you got chemistry, man, I've seen some teams that chemistry was so high and the roster was just okay, and it still works. So it's one of those things where you go out, you go off, and you stay in dorms together, you stay together, and you just build this bond that in the NFL, it's a lot. It's a quicker bond you build right now, because every team is different every single year. It's not college where you go to especially back in the day, where you go there for 4 years straight and you're there for sure. In NFL, it's about, man, this is my year right here. I may be gone next year. I may be cut or whatever, or traded to another team. I need to get it's a sense of urgency to come together and have chemistry right now. And that's what you do during training camp. So yeah, I actually enjoy, people say I'm crazy when I say this. I actually like training camp because, that was my time to show that I still got it. Like you gotta go to training camp in a way and have this hardness about you that you're only good as your last play. You can't say, man, I made the Pro Bowl last year. I made over 100 tackles. I'm pretty good. I'm one of the good players. It's like, man, you got to show it every single practice, man. And training camp, you get that. Like you make plays in training camp, in and out of practice, and that gives you your confidence to say, okay, I'm still that guy.
Man, great stuff, man. We talked a bunch of stuff right now. Training camp, we talked to Andy Reid. Obviously, my man, host Derrick Johnson is with us. He'll be with us for a couple more segments as we kick off the 2024 Chiefs season. You're listening to The Process, where the process is greater than the product. That's the end of segment 1. We'll come back right after a short break with segment 2. Don't go anywhere.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
All right, welcome back. Here you go, man. You're here listening to The Process, where the process is greater than what it produces. I'm your guy, your host, Shawn Barber, 10-year NFL vet. I got my man DJ, Derrick Johnson, one of the greatest Chiefs linebackers to ever touch Arrowhead Field. Man, we started the show talking about training camp and Andy Reid, and we're going to just keep transitioning that into some of the things in this offseason. Since the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, they got a chance to win a third one in a row. But with every new season, like DJ talked about in the first segment, every team was different each season. This season is going to prepare and present a whole nother level of challenges. But the first thing that starts off with some of the rule changes that happen in the NFL. And so I'm going to go through some of these rule changes and try to get get DJ's perspective on some of these rule changes. So the first one I'd like to talk about, obviously, was the kickoff has changed. Right now, instead of us running down, I blew up the wedge. I was a wedge buster. It probably shortened my career and shortened my neck at the same time. But I would run down those 40 yards, and they would have those two offensive linemen or the backup tight ends like the Jason Dunns and Willie Rowe, and the backup guy standing back there at the 20-yard line. They come together. I had one job: split the wedge. Do not let that wedge get beyond me and create a hole for this returner. And man, like I know I did that plenty of times, and it was about 3 or 4 times where after I split that wedge, I couldn't tell you whether I was on the home side or the away side. I got up somehow. Maybe my balance wasn't great. And then, my first year in the league, I was a special teamer. That's it. I didn't play but third downs. But from my second year on until my last year in the league, I was an every down linebacker. So, like, once I ran down for a kickoff and split the wedge, it was into the defensive huddle. So I didn't really have much time to come over to the side and regain my wits about me. So I do remember having certain linebackers on the field, Mislowski, Kawika Mitchell, Scott Fajita, some different guys that say, hey, Barber, listen, there's a few times where we had to tap you out to go to the sideline and get some smelling salts and get your wits about you, because like you were basically helping the Mike linebacker would call the defense, and then I was the wheel, so I would call in the personnel, and then I would check with the safety to make sure we was on the same page as far as the coverage. So that was kind of my role on the normal downs, making sure that the coverage married up with the front and the run gaps and everything. And I was giving the personnel calls also. So a couple times I remember looking to the sideline and, man, I see him, holding up the signs, whatever, holding up to this or holding up, whatever the sign is. I'm looking there like, man, like I have nope. And they say, man, go, hit the sideline for a second, come on back. But yeah, man, if my own personal feeling about
that was good. You think that was a good that's a good rule change?
I'm wondering why it took them so long to come up with it. Like, Lord, I wouldn't have minded if they just took the kickoff return completely out the game when I played and just give the ball to the offense at the 20-yard line. Let's start playing normal. Like man, forget that kickoff return stuff. Man, just put the ball on the 20 and let's get to going at it, see if this offense gonna score on our defense. Because that was, man, I really believe that took a few years off my career. I mean, 10 years might be good to some people, but 12 would have been better. So, overall, what's your thoughts about this kickoff rule, man?
I think it's a good rule. I never, not that I don't appreciate special team play. I never was a special team player, and I think there's some, man, I can honestly say this, like, when I'm out there, I give them more credit because you're covering a bunch of field, man. It's a lot different playing in the box. Not that the box is easy when you play it on defense, but it's just a different light when you have to run 40, 50 yards downfield to go, on punt team or kickoff and go tackle somebody and, create space and just, being out of control, under control and making the tackle. I wasn't too good at it, but I'll tell you what, it's going to help somebody to not, one less player not to get knocked out or some neck injury or something weird happen on a kickoff, right? And not that it's not important, but I'm glad that they put them up to the middle of the field, to the 50. Now they can just, they still, it's a violent sport still, but it's not, you're not coming so far away from each other and ramming into each other. So I think it was awesome.
Great compromise of like Lauren, like you're saying, Lauren that ramp up space from 40 yards of running to hitting these guys to just 10 yards. 10-yard cushion, letting the guys run back and engage. And again, it'll still be some returns. We saw it in the preseason. There was a handful of returns still got broken out across the 50. Some returns inside the 20. There's some kickers that still kicked it into the end zone and gave them the ball, with the free pass and stuff like that. So I think it creates some excitement about the play. Yeah, there's so many different things that can happen on that single play. But like you're saying, it's not risking guys, to season-ending, career-ending injuries just for the sake of this one play that 80%, 90% of the time was just coming out to the 20, 25-yard line.
Great, 90%.
Yeah. So I think the NFL did make a great move with that change. The other one, man, this hip tackle. Oh, my goodness, man. This hip tackle, I think because me and you are defensive-minded folks, it's going to probably rub us the wrong way. But they've said that the opportunity of a defender coming behind or to the side of an offensive guy with the ball, the fact that we are wrapping our arms around his waist and then using our body weight to then fall on the back of their legs as to roll them over like a rodeo style. They want to outlaw that. It's a personal foul now this year. Mark Andrews, for the Ravens, obviously we're upcoming, getting ready for the Ravens game. But he was one of the guys who last year, this type of tackle injured him. I think also Hawkinson for the Vikings. So we've seen a couple tight ends, a couple different players get injured. And so the NFL wanted to make a swift judgment and make a pivot to say, hey, the defenders, no more hip tackles. You got to find a way to get, off the guy's legs. And that just, man, when I think about how many times a running back broke out into the open, or a wide receiver catches a slant and starts to turn up the field, and just my angle of interaction with this guy is now coming from behind or coming from the side. And you're telling me I got to find a way to engage and tackle and get him down without using his hips and without falling on his legs. DJ, you help me out, man. Like how many things can you think about in the moment? How many different things can you think about? He's defenseless until he gathers himself. You can't hit him in the head. You don't want to hit him in the knees and end his career. You also got to realize he's probably most times a better athlete than we are. So, I mean, the one thing we have in football as defenders is intimidation. If you come across the middle, we used to have the right to intimidate you and give you a little something to make you remind you this is not your area. Like you need to stay your butt out on the perimeter. This middle of the field belongs to us. You in the wrong territory, bro. So we had a way to do that back in the day that's been, I mean, just brick by brick, it's been, just taken away from us. So now, this hip tackle, what is some of the things you think when you're going into making a tackle, or if you had to be playing now, how would that just affect the way you even prepare and even the way you go about making your tackles?
Well, I'm glad I'm not playing.
Let's start with that.
Yeah, right. Because of these rules, I wish I was playing to make a little extra check. But
yeah.
But I tell you what, it's just getting harder for defensive guys. Football is a violent sport, and there are some things that happen when you say, "Dang it, man, that's unfortunate." But it happens, right? But that hip tackle is just harder on us. When you tackle somebody, you don't want to leak your yardage, right? You want to hit them, go down right there. And now we gotta position ourselves, just like you were saying. If somebody's on the slant and they get upfield like they always do as a receiver, we're coming from an angle where we're right behind them. And I mean, you want me to grab them and keep running with them, the way they're going? I'm like, no, I don't want them to get a first down. So a lot of times people just drop down, because that's kind of like the last defense, drop down. And at times you don't get hurt, but there's times where you really hurt a player. They're just trying to make it safer. So I get it. But man, that's a tough one. I really believe that it's when they have these rule changes, a lot of it is because of defensive players are very, very violent, and they're trying to make the game safer. And we're just, we're dogs out there, and it's just, it happens, man. And it's unfortunate, but that's tough. I can't, if I'm a coach, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm embracing that yet. I'm like, just get them down and we'll figure it out, man. We'll figure it out. But you got to be mindful of that now.
Well, the one thing I was thinking about is if I'm envisioning myself trying to tackle, a Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews or anybody over the middle, I grab you, and the first thing in my mind I was thinking is like friendly fire. So I got other linebackers, other DBs, I got D linemen coming out the pack, and all of them are coming to get some licks in. And I'm trying to hold this guy up so I don't fall on his legs. I actually expose myself, my own limbs, to being hit.
Yeah. Oh, they coming.
Oh, that's the one. We know they're coming. So that's the part of us doing the hip tackle wasn't always just to get him down. It's to get myself out of the way.
Yeah.
Right. Like I want this play to be over as fast as possible, because I don't want my own incoming missiles to mistake me for the opponent. And so I hope that the NFL at least takes some onus on all these rule changes of trying to keep offensive guys more protected, and also do some equally invest in, hey, are we slowing the game down on the defensive side, where these defenders are not able to keep themselves healthy, because now they're thinking about what angle of engagement, how am I going to, fall after, like once I grab them, how am I going to fall to not land with my weight on them? Or all these different things you got to think about, like, who am I tackling? Because I got to tackle a quarterback different than I tackle a running back. I got to tackle a wide receiver, tight end now different than I tackle a running back. So now I got to think about who I'm tackling, how to tackle them, my teammates coming, off the offensive line trying to peel me off the pack.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, so many things. That's after you've already thought about your alignment, your assignment, your gap responsibility, all the game situation, the down and I mean, come on, man. Like
the decision making, your decision making, they're making it harder for us to make decisions, and we just gotta be even better. And it's not gonna, this year may be a little bit harder for us, but we'll adapt. Yeah. We always do.
Yeah.
But I was watching a couple highlights. My kiddos had, my little kiddos, my 5-year-old boy had some YouTube deal on, and he was looking up, Chief football, and looked up my name, and I'm making these tackles. I'm looking on these highlights. I'm like, these are all half of them are penalties now. I'm like, I wouldn't have got
highlight them is full of penalties, man.
It's like, I just hit that guy in the head. I mean, now when you're tackling, it's about seeing what you hit. So, yes. I mean, I got to see what I hit. You can't go here, but I don't know, man.
DJ, we've always talked about this. The offensive guy can change his level in a moment's notice. Like, I get to catch the ball, and I can decide to stay at this level or to duck down or to jump high.
Yep.
So there was a period where, remember, everybody was leaping over people.
Yep.
You kept seeing offensive guys leap over defenders, and everybody said, "Oh, that defender, he don't see," because he has to prepare himself and think of so many things before he interacts. The last thing he was thinking about is this joker taking off and pulling a Michael Jordan and trying to jump over him. So yeah, that sometimes you do get caught out there and you end up with nothing because you're trying to think so many things to prevent yourself from getting fined. Then it causes you to slow down just an extra step. And that's, man, with the way these offensive guys move now, that extra step that you slow down to, they're gone.
They gone.
It's almost like Mission Impossible. Try to think exactly how to hit a guy. Don't hit him in the head. Don't hit him too low. Understand it. You got to carry him the way down like all the things you got to think about.
And why he's a better athlete than you, by the way.
And that's the thing we keep going back to. Like it's a real weird situation. But man, listen, I know the NFL is going to find a way to. At some point, I think there's got to be a moment or a year of correction. I keep hoping and praying one year that they're going to look back and say, you know what, we've done so much for the offense.
Yeah.
We've done so much for the offense. We've protected the quarterback. We made him almost unhittable. He can't go down. You can't put your body weight on him when you do tackle him.
That's not smart.
He's protected whether he's running or whether he's in the pocket. Like, it's not just pocket protection no more. Even if the quarterback is running, you can't. If he slides too early, then you hit him to stop him. Oh, that's a flag too. So if he gives himself up, you just can't touch him. And now the defenseless receiver, if a receiver's going after a catch, you got to kind of let him complete the catch before you can try to break up. Like, oh my goodness. And now the next chapter of that is now when you tackle him, we can't use the hip tackle. So it's just offensive. At some year, some point in time, somebody's going to stand up to the rules committee and say, hey man, it's two sides of this ball. Yeah. At some point, we got to give the defense a little bit of room back. We got to give them something back at some point. So, man, the second segment, we talked about rule changes. We talked about the kickoffs. We talked about the hip tackle. We talked about the quarterback being protected. I'm going to close it on this as far as the segment 2. Let's talk about this tush push, man. There was a couple weeks during the season when it got to about halfway, everybody was talking about how Jalen Hurts and the Eagles were running this tush push, and it was like a cheat code. They were saying the Eagles only have to get 8 yards because you can't stop them from getting 2 when they use a tush push. So really, they had 3 plays to get 8 yards because they could go for it on any third or fourth down and get the 2 for the first down religiously without worrying about turnover on downs because they were utilizing the tush push. And the NFL were being questioned, was that going to be something that they outlawed? Personally, I'm so happy that the NFL never acted upon that because the tush push is just one variation of plays that are just, man, it's tough. It's a tough down for a defense when you put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in the A gap and you're just rugby scrumming for 2 yards, and then you got a quarterback that squats 600 pounds in Jalen Hurts, and now you're trying to stop those 2 guys from getting 2 yards. It was a tough down, but guess what? The Eagles didn't win the Super Bowl. They had I think they got blown out actually in the playoffs by maybe the Packers or somebody that first round of the playoffs. But so whatever it wasn't to the amount of, it didn't give them the advantage to the point where it became something that they needed to outlaw it. And so I'm glad that the NFL did not overreact, no knee-jerk reaction when it came down to the tush push. So, the tush push was something that, you had anything to say about that?
Yeah, I actually don't like the tush push.
Yeah,
I don't. Because it's just like you're saying, it's hard to stop, man. If you can get 2 yards a pop on that, like that's golly. Now I'm that's defeating as a defender.
Yes,
but I get it. It's in the rules. Like I get it. But it's one of those things where I'm more so. Nothing's really wrong with it. I'm more so reacting because we have so many things against the defense.
Yes,
just kind of want something against the offense. That's kind of what it is. You hit me, I'm trying to hit you back. That's it.
Yeah. Is that chess versus checkers? Is that strategy? Because listen, D, when we was on the field as a Mike backer, it was 3rd and 7. We just knew we couldn't let you get 7 yards. Yep. But with that tush push, you thinking about getting 5. Because you're like, if I get anywhere close to that first yardage, I know I can use this play to go ahead and keep us on the field.
That's a big deal.
Like, that ain't right, man. Like I did my job. On 3rd down, we kept them short of the sticks. We supposed to be off the field.
Yeah.
So I do feel you on that, man. I do feel you on that. So, well, that's our second segment, man. Listen, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Like, man, I got about 8 hours of notes to go over with DJ, and I've only got through half this first little page. So me and DJ, man, listen, I tell you, when you get 2 great minds on this podcast together, we always focus on the process. And we're going to let y'all determine what the product is. But this your boy, Shawn Barber, my man, Derrick Johnson. We're going to be back to you with the third and final segment. And we're going to get into some X's and O's, some pros and cons, some ingredients for success when it comes to this Chiefs versus Ravens game as they start and kick off the season on Thursday Night Football. Man, we'll be right back at you.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.
All right, welcome back to the show. Hey, man, we're going to listen. I'm going to streamline some of this stuff. Listen, my producer said, Barber, we got to get to the Chiefs versus Ravens games. And I said, listen, the listeners want to hear me and DJ talk about the old times. They already know what's going to happen on Thursday night. Patrick Mahomes is going to find Kelsey. I tell you, early in the game, he's going to go over the top to hang him horns. He's going to that UT. He's going to Xavier Worthy, the first-round draft pick, to get a score early and often. And the Ravens are going to make it a game. Obviously, King Henry, the rushing game. Andrews is back. He's healthy. They got some guys. They got Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers got a chip on the shoulder. A lot of people are saying he cost the Ravens a chance to go to the Super Bowl in that AFC Championship game by that fumble that Ladarius Sneed created. So I got some off-season highlights I want to hear real quick, and then I'm going to get some reaction from my man DJ. So in the off-season, the Chiefs, we extended Creed. We lost Ladarius Sneed to the Titans. Hollywood Brown was signed as a replacement to Juju. Well, then guess what? Juju came back, so Juju is back. Mecole Hardman is still in the building. Obviously, Rashee Rice, the group of wide receivers that through about 10 or 12 weeks, Chiefs Kingdom, there was a feeling here in the Kingdom that our wide receiver group was going to cost us a chance to even make the playoffs. And that room going into 2024 is probably one of the strengths of the team when you talk about Rashee Rice, Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Mecole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster's back, Justin Watson. I mean, that seems to me to be one of the strongest. If you talk about collectively wide receiver 1 to wide receiver 6, it's hard for me to find another group of wide receivers that I feel like in the NFL is that cohesive. So the way that Brett Veach and the team turned over the wide receiver room, they've done it position by position almost every year. 1 year was the offensive line after we lost, I think, Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. They turned over the offensive line, and then the secondary got turned over with Honey Badger leaving and some of the guys having to leave. And now it was turned for the wide receiver group to be overturned. So we got some great additions, some offseason highlights. So just from a positional standpoint, DJ, those are some moves in the offseason. Which of those position moves do you feel like will affect the 2024 season for the Chiefs the most?
Oh, the receiver room, by far. I mean, that was I wouldn't say a low point, but it was low enough where it was a problem, and we were, a lot of complaining throughout the year, game after game about the drops and just not on the same page or whatnot. But, just like Andy, always does, they figured it out and peaked at the right time and gracious enough that we won the Super Bowl back to back. But this year you go into it, you say, how does the Super Bowl winner has, they're coming back the next year better. Like, that's a big deal, especially offensively. And Pat is at the top of that. And just to give him more weapons, man, man, I can't wait. I mean, there's speed in that room that can fly. I mean, that's going to obviously open up the running game for us. It works well. I can't wait. Like the receiver room, that's going to be a good look for us.
Yeah, and that was from a defensive standpoint. When I look at the Chiefs offense, back in 2019 when it was the first Super Bowl, and then after the Super Bowl, there was some interviews done with Patrick Mahomes, and everybody was saying, man, this is a great year, Super Bowl year. And he says, you know what, I'm excited to get back to the next season. Yes, I want to try to win it back to back. He says, but I got to admit, this whole season, I really didn't even read the defense. Like, we just were so explosive with Tyreek Hill, and I knew that whenever Tyreek wasn't there, I could go to Kelsey. It was like a 1-2 punch, and that, I mean, nobody could even stop. You just couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
If you paid too much attention to Kelsey, I hit you with Cheetah over the top. You paid too much attention to Cheetah. We had a running game, and we had Kelsey underneath, and it was just, I mean, he was unstoppable. He was the no-look passes, and everything was coming all together. It was just like, I mean, he just landed on the NFL, and defensive coordinators just couldn't bring pressure because his arm talent of even off-schedule throws and throwing on the back foot, man, the ball would still go 60 yards and land in the mailbox. I mean, his accuracy down the field was just so phenomenal, and the way he kept his eyes down the field while looking down the barrel of a gun type thing. I mean, balls are closing in. The guys are coming after him right before the hit. I'd still remember when I think about some of his greatest throws, it was actually, to me, the loss to the Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. If I remember some of the highlights from him, I mean, laterally,
unbelievable. I
mean, he's laterally diving, throwing the ball across his body and hitting people in the face mask. I mean, we just couldn't catch the ball. It was not about his ability to buy extra time and the offensive line. I mean, nobody was being blocked. They was coming after him. Yeah. He was running for his life and still being able to whirly twirl and run around and still deliver the ball 40 yards downfield and hitting guys in stride. I mean, I saw a level of competitiveness in this young man that it's hard for me to think I've ever seen that done at a higher level. And to think he was doing that without being able to read coverages. That was the moment that I realized this is getting really scary for me. Because if at this point he's won a Super Bowl, lost one, and he's now taking it personal as, you know what, I got to start reading these coverages. I got to start learning something about what's going on in the back end a little bit better to give me some more ammunition at my own. You know, not that I need anybody better around me, but to utilize the guys I have. I want to make sure I know what's going on the back end of these defenses, how they're attacking me, how they're covering my guys. Because there's there's no perfect defense. Every defense has a weakness. You can't cover. I don't have enough. It's 8 zones to cover and pass. I can't bring 3 and drop 8. I can't do that consecutively because you'll run the ball down my throat. Yeah. I can't go man against guys that run 4-2. Yeah. DBs, as fast as we think we are, like on defense, the fact that the offensive guy knows where he's going, even if you're the same speed as him, he knows where he wants to go, and the quarterback knows where to throw it. You can lead him open. So, like, there's only so many things we can try to do defensively to continue to try to confuse a guy or make him hold the ball to allow the sack to get there. So when I look at what's going on now with Patrick Mahomes, and I realize that this guy is just starting to, like, I mean, he's getting deep. he's going real deep. I mean, he's going like a 007 espionage deep as far as the way he's starting to like develop and learn defenses and learning why is the safety lining up here and why is the corner taking this leverage? Who's on the other side of the field to help this guy if I do throw it all the way across the field? And he's taking chances in the preseason. He's taking chances early in games because he knows that they can't win or lose a game in the first half. And then when we make our halftime adjustments, the way the Chiefs come out in the second half, if you look over his career, what he's done to people in the second half of ball games, it is some of the greatest quarterbacking play, football execution. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, all these, none of them even sniff the way he's executed. If you just want to say in the second half of ball games, once he realizes the defense and how you're trying to defend him, he knows between him and Andy and used to be EB, Eric Bieniemy, but now with Nagy, he knows he has enough brilliant people, offensive-minded people, and they've already went through they know the answers. It's just, can he tap in and get the wide receivers on the same page, the tight end on the same page? I think more times than not, you always need to bet on the Chiefs in the second half to figure out the answers and come up with some.
Absolutely. And if you can marry the physical, talented ability of Patrick and then that Tom Brady mentality, mental part of the game, you add them two together, man, that's like Superman, man. I mean, it's just, like you said, it's very, very impressive. Very impressive. And sometimes we get used to it, right? We're used to him running this way and throwing that way. You don't do that. You don't,
Yes.
Certain things you don't do. And you don't throw the ball behind your back in the middle of the game. You just don't do it. And he's just like, nah, I can do that. I can do it.
And collectively, think about the defensive mindset of like when we played with certain quarterbacks and it was like, man, like in this ball game, our defense is balling out.
Yep.
Just don't give them the ball on the other side of 50. Yep. Like get some first downs, kick it away, let us play. We'll pressure them. We're going to get a turnover. We'll win this ball game. Just don't give them a pick six. Don't give up. Don't turn it over in bad situations and whatever we got to do to just win the ball game. This defense is good enough. I mean, our defense, second overall in yards given up, second overall in points per game. When you possess a defense that is that potent and you put it in the same team with an offensive weapon like Patrick Mahomes is capable of presenting.
Yeah. And
now you talk about the foot of Butker. Right, the man, 50 from 50 in, he's go. I mean, like if he ain't kicking from 70, it's pretty much in there. I mean, and he gets better as the stakes get higher.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, overtime, playoffs, AFC Championship game, Super Bowl. I mean, his accuracy and everything, all his numbers get even more. He gets more laser focused as the game gets the pressure gets higher, which is the opposite for most people.
Right.
I mean, when all those things continue to come together and fall the Chiefs' way, I can understand why some people do call in or send messages like, it's got to be a script. It's got to be something scripted for the Chiefs to win. Like the fact that Travis Kelce is dating one of the most famous artists in the world, Taylor Swift. You got the whole Swiftie factor. Yeah, now you got the Chiefs era to go along with all this stuff got to be. I mean, there's no way that this just happens. And then you say, when good players get around great coordinators and great coordinators get around good players.
Oh, man.
And those good players and great coordinators realize we can even be better together.
Oh, man.
When we get on the same page and we start working it out, we start on a practice field, start developing, challenge each other. Like I still remember some of the teams I was with where certain high-paid play defenders would not come to training camp. It's like, hey, I'm training on my own. I'll be there when the season starts. And certain high-profile offensive guys like, hey, man, like just – I'll be there when it counts. And like the mindset here in Kansas City is almost like our best players are the ones that show up early and first on the field the longest. Patrick and Kelce are out there longer than anybody working on the finer details of how they're going to pick up what and what hand signals they're going to use and the different things that are going to make them even better. They already seem to be the best combo, but when you're not resting on your laurels as a great football player, and you're figuring out, you know what? The NFL top 100, they didn't put me at 1, 2, or 3. They made me 4. And you use that as motivation to come back. I mean, like you're using anything that somebody puts out there as a reason to motivate you from a professional level at your craft. I mean, like you said, that's that Tom Brady mindset mentality.
Michael Jordan was like that too. It's fine anything. You say, man, these guys are the best in the world. How can they get motivated? They're like, nah, that guy thinks he can score against me, or that like they'll find any and everything. And being easily motivated, I think that's a great characteristic to have. If you want to tap into that greatness, you got to be easily motivated. Something because believe it or not. They are not Superman. They are not. They are not robots. Like
as we go for the as the Chiefs go for the three people, hey guys, like listen. I know it might seem like these guys always got answers and they always get it done, but like they're not. Like that's the truth. The truth and the honesty is we know they get themselves dressed like everybody else. It's just their execution is so high when all the chips are in. It's just. Man, it's a beautiful thing to watch. Like you said, it's a great time to be a part of the Chiefs kingdom. So, man, listen, I'm going to spend the rest of the show. We're gonna just nugget down and go into some of these. Right, when it comes to the Chiefs are a 3-point favorite Thursday night against the Ravens. I got right here that the Ravens have won 5 consecutive games on the road. The Chiefs have won the last 2 home games against the Ravens. A 3-point favorite, we know when it comes to Vegas, man, that means the teams are equal, right? The home team gets a field goal. So they're both equal. Last year, the Chiefs was 11-6, and they won their 8th AFC West title to give them a playoff berth. And the Ravens actually were the number 1 seed. They was 13-4. A tremendous regular season by Lamar and company. 7-1 on road games in 2027. And that was their 7th AFC North title since 2003. So, man, Coach Harbaugh has had this team as one of the best. If you ask me, they were one of the 4 best teams until, when 1 year I think Lamar's season was shortened due to injury. But barring that, the Ravens to me have been one of the 4 best teams in football each and every year since Coach Harbaugh's got there. It's been an arrogance and an attitude of the Ravens that they have a motto. It's called Rise and Conquer. It has nothing to do about the season. It has nothing to, like, we rise and conquer. Whether it's the day by day, the moment after defeat, we rise and conquer. And he's been bringing that mentality and mindset to those guys. They're not worried about somebody getting injured or tired. They want to run the ball down your throat. They want Lamar out on the edges. They want him to be spectacular. We already said 2-time MVP. If there's anything that team has not done, it's they haven't really gave him any receiving weapons because Mark Andrews has been great. Now Zay Flowers going into his second year. Awesome rookie campaign last year. So they just haven't given him an abundance of receivers to go. But by giving him King Henry in the backfield, I mean, me and you are defensive-minded people. I'm looking at how I would draw up a defense to try to slow down the Ravens because I don't think I have a defense that can stop them. I think I just have to – I'm hoping a pass gets dropped. I'm hoping the blocking scheme up front, somebody misses a stunt and I get a free hitter. Something like that happens because I think mano a mano, if you just line up against them, even though the offensive line has 3 new pieces, they got a young guy, 3 new young guys playing on the offensive line. The addition of King Henry in the backfield, Lamar being a savvy veteran, another year of experience. Isaiah Likely is this new tight end piece that they can come out and we call it ace king set with 2 tight ends and kind of affect your safeties and your run block, your run gap responsibilities as a linebacker. I'm seeing some issues and problems that I would come up with. I'm trying to be a defensive-minded person when it comes to facing the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs have the upper hand because I don't think Lamar, even though their offense is crazy good, especially when you talk about just running the ball, being able to, you got to pack the box, you got to do this, you got to put more defensive linemen in there, you got to maybe put an extra linebacker in there because they're running the ball. They're not hiding it, but when the quarterback can run the ball, that's that extra guy that we don't account for that really messes things up and all the running the zone read and they can get kind of funky with it. But I don't know if they can keep up with our offense, right? That helps us out because if you can get up on them, then they can't just run the ball. You know, if it's an even game or if they up, then that plays into their hand. They can run the ball. It's kind of like that old school deal, like Novocaine. Eventually, it will work, and they're really good. But we've had the upper hand on them, and they know it's going to be a fight coming. It's going to be a great game, but I just think we have more explosiveness on our offensive side of the ball that will work than on theirs.
Yeah, so looking at the Ravens team last year, I remember the notes. When it was time for us to play against them in the AFC Championship game, I went through an extensive breakdown of basically I wrote out into like a bar graph all of Lamar games, his rushing, the rushing totals, the running back from the rushing back Gus Edwards and what they were doing on the ground game. Every game except for 2, they was up by halftime. The entire NFL season, they went into the locker room up at halftime except for 2 games. In those 2 games, I think they were down by only a field goal. So to be that close or up every single game, I was thinking to myself, man, when these Chiefs play them, they got to come out and they got to go deep. They got to hit them. If you get into like a grudge match with these guys, they have the personnel to wear you down. And
they can win that. Yeah,
they're going. That's their game. Yeah. But like you said, if you get into a game where you start throwing haymakers, that is not what they want to be in.
Yeah.
For some reason, in that AFC Championship game, they started to try to throw haymakers with us. They were not content taking the 4 downs, the rushing, it seemed like almost Lamar was hesitant to scramble. Like he wanted to prove to somebody he was more of a Patrick, more of a drop back, more of a conventional quarterback than just being what he naturally is. Which
he don't have to do that. He's already dynamic. So yeah,
electric, dynamic, superhero type. I mean, come on, man. We know this guy when he gets when he gets to running the ball, this sucker is special.
Ooh.
And to see that offense start to transition into something they wasn't during our ball game, that was, I think, the moment where I think it ended up being 17-10 or something like that, but whatever the ending score was, it seemed to be where I thought it was going to be a game of possession, a war of attrition. Whoever walks out this game is probably going to lose the Super Bowl because you wasted so much energy and effort and it was soldiers in this battle. I don't care how many weeks you got into the Super Bowl, you're going to go in there like a little bit wounded. But it wasn't that. They basically convinced the Ravens that they need the first team to 40. That seemed to be the mentality of the Ravens the entire ball game. Is Patrick going to be able to move this ball the entire game? So we got to race and get the 40 before they can. And that allowed the strip fumble. One of the guys came around the edge and stripped Lamar. So we had a strip fumble there, and then we had the turnover with Zay Flowers.
Yeah,
Ladarius Sneed punched that out. And those 2 turnovers, no matter how the rest of the game went, because it wasn't a punch him in the mouth, drag out rushing game, those 2 turnovers was the effective, that was the causation of passing the ball to begin with.
Right. You
don't run into that issue of Lamar getting the ball stripped or your receiver getting stripped if you're handing it off to Gus Edwards and he's running downhill. Yeah. And with King Henry being back there, I think that might be a change of that mindset. And I do have to say, let's a little bit of a moment of disrespect, respect paid to the offensive line coach. They lost their offensive line coach lost his life recently, so they're coming to this game with a new offensive line coach. Their offensive coordinator left. The defensive coordinator left and he's the head coach at Seattle now. So there are some changes on their offensive staff that might make this Ravens team seem to be a little bit different. But I think me and you know Harbaugh enough to know that he's only hiring and interviewing guys that are kind of cut from the right cloth, right? It's a Raven way.
Yep.
And I don't think he would bring anybody into the fold that really wasn't their kind of guys. So
yeah, absolutely. I can't wait. Like I'm itching at the bit trying to see how we can get them into a situation like last year, right? Like, hey, once we get up on, Ravens get a little antsy. When you get about 7 to 10 points, it's like, they're they change their offense. They change it, and it don't matter what it is. Now it's Lamar trying to be, like Pat, trying to be something that he's not. And he can do what he does, and hopefully he's not listening to this, but he can do what he does and be pretty good, man. I mean, he's just, and as defenders, I mean, when a guy can run past everybody on our defense, golly, man, that quarterback.
That's the one position we don't account for. No matter what play I draw up, we never account for the quarterback.
Like on the power. When he catches like a quarterback power, that's a play where he's like, man, we don't count for the running back actually blocking in there and helping out on the power. So that's an extra blocker, man.
That's right.
Golly, but whenever you get a chance to get Lamar, you gotta smack him. Not trying to hurt him.
I mean, we ain't hurt nobody, but you got to make them know this one counts.
You got to
take a couple of shots at you early to make sure you know it counts. So, well, Matt, listen, this has been great. Obviously, hey, well, before we wrap it up, you got let's say a game prediction.
I would definitely go to under. I think it's 46.
46.5 for the over under.
I would say 20 to 24.
Yeah.
Chiefs win, but convincingly, meaning Ravens, it's 24-10, and they're trying to score the last one to get it closer or whatnot. But we'll definitely win the opener. Last year was a shock. We're not gonna get shocked like that again. This year we'll be ready.
Yeah, I think last year we knew, even through training camp, that there was a deficiency in the wide receiver room. Like the plays we were trying to get them to run and what they possessed as wide receivers, I think we knew internally that was going to be a little bit of a speed bump. Yeah. And it actually led to a pick six that it was a difference in the game. If you don't remember that was a little zero route went off of Kadarius Toney's hands. It was a pick six and went the other way, and that kind of sealed the game for the Lions in that opener. But I think this year we really understand that wide receiver room is an asset. And the fact that they can go vertical with so many different guys, both Hollywood Brown and Hingham Horns, worthy.
That's perfect.
Hook 'em. My bad. Not hook 'em Horns. I got to get it right, UT.
But that's perfect. Just like you talk about that wide receiver room being an asset now. That's perfect for a guy like Kelsey being older, but still at the top of his game. So he's saying, hey, y'all, come on, we're gonna make some nails.
Yeah, y'all gonna forget about me, and then when you forget about me, I'm gonna make y'all pay underneath. So I think we can hit people at all three levels now, and I think that's something we really didn't do until the playoffs. And all season long, we was trying to make it happen, and again, I think our defense played so well. We need that again
all
season long. So marrying that up, I'm right with you, man. I'm at 43 points. I'm 20 to 23. Chiefs win. Definitely go with the under. But with that said, man, listen, man, it's been a great opportunity to this rehash and talk about some good old times. My man DJ. I mean, listen, I'm an older player than him, and he can tell you what he wanted about. Man, listen, this Joker was a blessing to be as a teammate in the locker room, a student of the game. Definitely anything he's I think he leads the Chiefs organization as far as total tackles, either in a career or a season. Set so many records here for this organization, man. He's this is a treasure, man, a lifelong treasure, a lifelong brother and friend. Nothing but blessings for him and his family. I love his family, love his wife and kids. So with that, man, we're going to close the show. This is Shawn Barber. You've been listening to The Process, where the process is greater than when it produces. Looking forward to getting back with you after the Chiefs' big win, home opener versus the Ravens, Thursday Night Football. Next week, I'll be coming back at you.